Thanks for coming, everyone, and we're happy to have you here and get to know you a little bit and tell you a little bit about the upper elementary program. My name is Kathleen Princey, and I started my teaching career in 1991. And what led me to Oak Meadow School was actually when I was looking for a great preschool for my own two children. And I found Oak Meadow School and I never looked back. So I was fortunate to have my girls come through the school from Children's House through 8th grade. And now I have one daughter who's in her first year in college and one who's in 11th grade. And this is my 7th year as a teacher at Oak Meadow in the upper elementary program. Actually, my 2nd year as a lead teacher. I took some time to be an assistant for a while and manage both my family life and my career. So it was really nice to have that, during that time. And now this is my 2nd year as a lead teacher, and I'm here to help. So I'm going to, if you have any follow-up questions after this, you can always reach out to me through email if we don't get to everybody's questions now, or you think of something afterwards. So I just wanted to introduce myself, and I will pass it over to Ethan, I guess.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'll just kind of echo what Kat said. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So I'm Ethan Dauphiné. This is my 2nd year at the Oak Meadow School. I am Miss Princey's assistant here in Upper L. So I primarily work with the 4s and 5s, but the 6s or our 6th year students a little bit as well. In addition to that, I am the basketball coach here for upper elementary and middle school, as well as this year taking on the history or lead teaching the history class that we offer here in Upper L. So, just to kind of reiterate what Kat said, I mean, it's tough to work here every day and not to love these kids. We have a pretty great program, and so we look forward to sharing that with you today. And I think that's it for me. Kirsten, I'll throw it over to you.
Thanks, Ethan. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kirsten Wright. I've been at Oak Meadow. This is my 15th year. I started at Oak Meadow as the middle school science teacher and did that work for, I think about 6 years, maybe even more than that. And I am now more involved with the upper elementary team. We work as a team, so I have the great opportunity, as does everybody on the team, to work with the 4s, 5s, and 6s, and that's perhaps one of the biggest changes that you might notice is that your children will be part of a teaching team, and so they will be able to go beyond their, primary classroom. So Kat and Ethan work primarily with the 4s and 5s, but I also work with the 4s and 5s, and I love it. I work with them for writing twice a week, and I also support them in what we call a skills class. My background is I'm Massachusetts certified in special education as a learning specialist. And I'm also certified in elementary education and middle school education. So the skills program is something where we focus on things like managing long-term projects, executive functioning, mindfulness, all kinds of things. But it's a really great way for me to get to know your children, and a great way for them to get to know me as well. I love Oak Meadow. I've taught in a few places. There's nowhere I'd rather be than at Oak Meadow. It's really a special place, and I'm really excited to get to know your kids and get to know all of you. So thank you again for coming.
I am Maria Cunha. I'm one of the teacher assistants for upper elementary.
So as far as the transition from lower L to upper elementary goes, in a typical school year, we would have the kids come into the classroom, spend a morning in the classroom with, with the kids they'd have a little mentor and they'd, take them around and spend the whole morning with us. We can't do that right now. So, we have to figure out if there's going to be some sort of, virtual visit with the kids. We haven't figured that out yet. But hopefully we could do something like that. Last year, so this year it looks a little bit different. Last year we met with the families before coming into the school over the summer, to get the kids ready. We met with the parents, we met with the kids. We also set up a day where the kids could come into the building and see the space, feel more comfortable with it, because they didn't have that opportunity. Last year, actually, we did have an opportunity to have the kids visit, because it was before we left the building. So they did come in and spend a whole morning with us and then go out for recess. They spent basically from time when they arrived in the morning until lunchtime. And then they headed back. Things that are really great for us in terms of mentoring or bringing the kids in are just kind of our social emotional, building our classroom community, morning meetings, these types of things. This year we didn't have as much of a mentor-mentee role, but we usually do. We didn't know, at the start of the school year, we were so worried about keeping the kids socially distanced and in their own space and the desks. And, we were so worried about the environment and, we wanted to take care of the kids as well, social emotionally, because they had been out of school for so long, but we weren't really, we wanted to keep them separate. So some things that we do, we just have that natural, morning meeting where we're talking about, social emotional topics, whether that's, persevering or just like Kirsten said, mindfulness, or we're talking about current events. There's something that we're talking about almost every day. And we're celebrating birthdays still, even though we're not having like a special birthday snack. We're still finding ways to do that. And this year looks a little bit different because we do have a good amount of kids working from home. Last year we went to Nature's Classroom, which it's an awesome bonding experience for the kids. I don't know whether we'll be doing that again next year or not. These are just some of the ways that we transition the kids into upper elementary. And of course, the number one is communication between the teachers and, all of the teachers, the team, the parents, with how the kids are transitioning. And weekly or bi-weekly emails, little newsletters that might go out. Just having a WebEx, at the beginning of the school year. How are you doing? What are you seeing at home? This is what we're seeing at school. Kids were so thrilled to be back in the building. They did really well.
Kat, can you talk a little bit about Nature's Classroom? I don't know if
sure. Sure. So as far as Nature's Classroom goes, we spend Monday through Thursday, we would spend at Nature's Classroom, and then the kids would come back home and they'd be pretty exhausted from the week. There's many different sites around the state, and there's some actually in, I want to say New Hampshire and Vermont, but we went out to the one in Charlton last year, and it's a whole program where the kids take classes, and then they have also a group that they're with for hiking. They have a table that they sit with for meals. So they're mixing and matching. They're not in the same group all the time. Then they usually put in a request of who they like to be in with their room. The facilities were phenomenal. The teachers were phenomenal. They had the best experience. It's kind of funny because last year we were really worried about EEE, so we moved our Nature's Classroom. In hindsight, we moved our Nature's Classroom event from September to December, and it really worked out for us because we had a little bit of snow, so we kind of had the best of both worlds. The kids loved it. So it's basically Monday through Thursday. The kids are exhausted, so they just stayed home on Friday because we pack a lot into a day. It's not that they're staying up late at night. They're not. You know, we start in the morning, they go to breakfast, they have, they come back, they get ready for like an outing for the day or a class that they're taking. It's so exhausted. Yeah, I mean, they're exhausted, but it's so awesome. So much fun. And I hope that we get to do it because it's really a great experience. We have kids that, go for sleepovers at their friends. And then we have the kids who have never been to a sleepover ever. And, so we have that whole range. And we have some kids that are like, oh, I'm going to make it through the whole week without calling home. And then we have other kids. Is it okay if I call home? And so after dinner, we would call home or FaceTime. It's whatever. Basically, the thing that I love here, is that we give each kid what they need. You know what I mean? I can't say that in enough ways. Whether it's the curriculum, whether it's the social emotional piece, here I feel like each child can reach their full potential. And that's what I loved for my own children. That's why I fell in love with this whole philosophy. And, I feel lucky to be here and privileged, and these kids amaze me every day. Unbelievable. These kids are just the best. To Upper L.
Yeah, I'd be happy to just speak to the academic side of it. So as teaching assistants, Maria and I largely deal with organization. That's what a lot of our time is spent on, and it's arguably the biggest transition for them coming from lower L to upper L, where we have, like Kirsten alluded to a few minutes ago, we have projects that go a week long, 2 weeks long. We have some that go a month long. And so helping them stay organized, helping them keep cubbies and hooks in a fashion where they'll actually be able to find the things that they need. It's a big adjustment, and we start that process well before even August in our conversations with lower L teachers. Does so and so avoid math, or are they avoiding writing, right? And trying to get an idea of the things to look out for ahead of time so that we can, like Kat said, meet them where they're at, try to build a plan for each individual kid. So that's largely kind of the support that we have structured for them here. And we just we have structures in place for them that, because we have a multi-age classroom with our fifth years, right, they're seeing kids using these processes, using our work plans every morning, right, and checking the daily schedule when they come in for their classes and things like that. So there's a lot that we build in structurally to try to support the academic transition. And as assistants, a lot of it falls to Marie and I. They end up getting very close with us because, Kat and Kirsten are often delivering lessons, and, they're running around handling 100 different things. And so we're the ones that can kind of step in and be that extra layer so that this team atmosphere really supports each kid, and that we're ensuring we're supporting them in the way that they need. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And then the other thing in terms of our transition, especially for our friends coming up from Oak Meadows Lower L program, is it's the same specialists for the most part, with a couple of exceptions. Things like STEM, they will have familiar faces that they're with, throughout the week, and so that's obviously very helpful for them in terms of just building rapport here in Upper L. I think that's all I had, Maria. If I'm forgetting something, please just jump in.
Yeah, no, I think you really covered it, Ethan. We help them with chunking out their work, and how to start is often a big challenge for a lot of our kids, and that's not just for our rising fourth graders. That's for all of our kids. Starting big tasks can be hard. And then the other piece, and I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but just at the beginning of the year, we do a lot of team building activities. And it's not just at the beginning of the year. We tend to sprinkle them throughout the year, where we put a lot of effort into the kids getting to know each other and working together on fun but challenging activities. And it really helps to build the classroom community.
One of the other things I think that's a real advantage for us, being an upper elementary program in a school that is Children's House or beginners up through 8th grade, is that we all have access to each other, meaning the teachers. So, it's not as we have transition meetings about each child, moving up to upper elementary. So we will talk with the lower elementary team to learn more about each student as an individual. But it's not as if, okay, then there's the handoff and we're all set. We're one community. So we have access to Mrs. Ferrera. We have access to, Ms. Falcone. So we are constantly sharing back and forth throughout the school year, which I know as a teacher, that's a huge, benefit to us to meet the needs of our students. The other thing I think that's really helpful with the transition is that the 4th years coming up see familiar faces in their peers. It's like a reunion, they've missed, their friends that have moved on to a program, but there's a sense of pride and reunion when they are once again together. And as you guys know, having students, come through a Montessori school, the biggest support, I think, as far as their transition is the support between the children. And they help each other to learn the ropes. And the kids listen to one another in a way that's different than in how they listen to us. They listen to us too, but it's just different. So it's just like all these layers of support for the transition, which is really, it's really beautiful to see on every level.
Nice, thank you. Go ahead, Pat.
Totally echo that. Absolutely. I'm constantly shooting an email off to, Mrs. Falcone or even Miss Cater, and just, hey, did this strategy, work, and what should I be doing? It's really great to have that, connection. And the kids, just like Kirsten said, oh my goodness, the light clicks, and they're so anxious to teach their, their peer. They want to just go, is it okay, Mrs. Princey, can I, even though we have masks on and everything, and they're in sort of a closer proximity, it's just for a few minutes. They love to do it. It reinforces, the concept for them. And I love that part, of the Montessori, specifically.
Good to see everyone. Good afternoon. I was, so first of all, as the teachers were talking, I was just thinking of what an amazing job this team of teachers has done during COVID in terms of being so connected individually with each of the students. And you've been hearing about this on an academic level and on their social emotional growth, being connected with the families, building this wonderful sense of community that even though they're students that are having to learn at home, they have done amazing things to have the community feel like one community, despite the fact that students are split. And I think that those skills they have demonstrated so amazingly during COVID really speak to the skills that I think we're all hoping we move out of COVID. And if you want to ask questions about COVID, we can get into some of that. But this is an amazing team of educators. And I was thinking about my own past experience as a school head. In most elementary schools, you have an elementary program that's 1st through 5th or 6th grade, or kindergarten through 5th or 6th grade. And they're somewhat sort of all lumped together, and there's sort of little differences grade by grade. But in Montessori, there is a real distinction between where students are, their stage of development and growth, from where they have just come from the lower elementary program, the students that are in the 6 to 9-year-old group, as they move to the 9 to 12-year-old group. And all of the wonderful benefits you've experienced in lower elementary, those are going to continue, but they're going to continue with a group of educators that I would also say about every single person you see here. They are experts at this group of students in particular. Our lower elementary teachers are amazing, but this group of teachers is really so attuned to the 9 through 12-year-olds in ways that uh, they're ready for those students to be at a completely different stage of development. And it's really amazing to watch that happen. I think that the sense of independence and self-direction that students start getting in the lower elementary grades, that just gets re-emphasized, what you've heard here, that our goal is for students to learn to take ownership of their own learning, to learn how to manage their own activities, to be organized, to be able to be self-driven as learners. Another wonderful part about the upper elementary program is that critical thinking piece. That comes on in amazing ways. I've watched morning meetings and classes where the students are getting into conversations about the curriculum, about the world they live in, that is just at a whole different level than the students were ready to in lower elementary. And these teachers are ready to kind of set the stage for the students to direct that and to lead that and to engage in topics that are of interest to them. They also build this wonderful sense of community because students in this age group are so social. And I think the teachers are great at learning, helping students to really develop even more of that empathy and kindness for each other and collaboration and ability to work with their peers. And the other thing I want to mention is that the upper elementary program leads naturally into our middle school, into our 7th and 8th grade program. And our 7th and 8th graders, our 8th graders, when they apply to go to some of the most academically rigorous high schools in this area, they are completely prepared in math, in science, in writing and reading. And I think that the preparation they get isn't just about middle school, it's sort of the connection. There's a strong connection between upper elementary and middle school, where we're really thinking about making sure they're on this trajectory where they're going to be in really strong position as they go through the school and get to 8th grade. And this team are just so superb in building all of that. So those are
I had a quick question about the music program. I know I'm hoping next year with COVID hopefully under control and having all these mitigation things in place, will there be a full option for incorporating that? I know some of the woodwind instruments and stuff like that have been off limits this year. Just kind of curious thoughts moving forward. And also, second question, I am so excited to hear about Nature's Classroom. I still remember in middle school when I did a program like that, and it's something to this day, many years later, that was very fond memories of really that hands-on learning of understanding all the different ecosystems. And I'm hoping and excited that that happens as well, because I know Alana will be overwhelmed with excitement for that kind of excursion as well.
Let me say a little bit about COVID. I apologize if there's a dog barking in the background. Let me say a little bit about COVID, and others are welcome to jump in too. So we don't know for sure, unfortunately, we don't know for sure where we'll be in the fall. I'm really encouraged that the CDC has said that they're going to make schools a priority in their work in providing clear guidelines. And I do believe that we will get some very good and clear guidelines as we get toward the end of the school year in the summer about next year. And it's just that information is not necessarily out yet. But what I'm hoping for next year is that because our teachers and staff will be vaccinated before we get to fall, and I'm hoping, and many parents may be vaccinated. The group that won't be will be children, because the testing is still going on, and that's going to be slower. Yep. But I believe it's going to be, I think it's almost certain that we'll probably still come back to an environment where the students and the adults will have to wear masks at school. We'll still have to be mindful of physical distancing. But I'm hoping we can be sort of less regimented about that physical distancing. And that means also, because the teachers will be vaccinated, I expect the teachers to be able to move across cohorts and students to be able to also be able to meet with special subject teachers. That's my hope. I can't tell you that it would, I can guarantee you that that's what the CDC will say is okay, or the state of Massachusetts, the Department of Health will say, but I'm hopeful that it will feel very different. And it will feel like we're taking a step toward going back to what is a more normal social, physical interaction in school for next year.
I know the masks and not being able to interact is closely, I know that gap has been felt a lot. And I know you guys are doing a lot to help with that social emotional component, to not being able to share your smile and things like that. I'm hoping that things get better, but I know that's a lot of stuff that's out of our control, but hopefully sooner rather than later too, especially with the transition, I guess, too, with is there going to be some type of, is it going to probably be video introductions at the end of the year, more of that kind of style?
Yeah, we're going to have to work through that. We don't have the answer to that just yet, but absolutely, because last year we were still fortunate enough to have the kids visit. So this year we have to get a little creative, and we'll figure out a way, to make that happen. And who knows, even by the end of the school year, I don't know, will the cohorts be able to mix, can we meet outside for a picnic? I don't know. Like, I'm hoping these things might happen, but I'm not really sure.
Right.
I did want to talk to you about this music program. If, like, in a typical year, Mr. Pixley usually has the first half of the year, the first semester up until the break, the New Year's break, he has them choosing an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So they would normally pick an instrument. I'm thinking that, he's probably going to go with maybe a different type of unit this year. He had them do ukuleles because the kids have to, it's not a wind instrument. They can't sing. They can't, blow into an instrument. So, similarly to Lower L, where he changed up and they did some xylophone work, yes. And so this year, this semester, they worked on ukuleles. They're going to go to the kalimbas now, this next portion of the year. They'll be starting that unit. So I think that Mr. Pixley's going to get a little bit creative there. I don't know what next year will look like, if they'll be able to continue, do singing in the mornings. He would also meet with a small group of kids who were interested in doing a band or, and also choir. I don't know if those things will happen or not. I just can tell you what has happened in the past. I don't know if, Mr. Pixley will get creative and be able to host the kids and do a different type of instrument where they don't have to, it doesn't have to be flutes and saxophones and clarinets and that sort of thing, trumpets. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer for you. As far as Nature's Classrooms go, we are so lucky to have that, and our kids are so lucky because they get to do it not only 1 year, they get a little spoiled, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and they don't get tired of it. I can tell you they get something different out of it every year, and they love it. They're so lucky. And then in 7th grade and 8th grade, they do, I forget what's the name? Red Gate Farm 1 year, and then they go to Camp Kiev. I think it is 1 year. They do other leadership programs. Really cool. Was there another question in there? I'm sorry. What was the other question?
I was just curious if you found a way to still continue that program this year.
Oh, the Nature's Classroom? Yeah. Well, to be honest, they did reach out to us and say, hey, would you like to do something this year? And, that's maybe virtual. And frankly, we were like, we can't think about that. Sure, if things continue, in the future we're sort of, we're in such a different place than we were in September, and thinking about everything, it was overwhelming, thinking about everything. Not only the curriculum, but having these kids in the building. Just thinking about how to keep everybody safe. Yeah. We had a lot to deal with, and honestly, we were like, Nature's Classroom. I can't think about that right now.
Right. No.
But
yeah, we're very happy to hear 4-H. Though during the summer their camps are back open. It's more limited capacity, but they were able to successfully do it last summer and this summer. So I don't know.
It was wonderful to hear about many camps being successful last summer. I didn't realize that. It was great.
Yeah, we were very happy about that.
And the kids do go to nature with Mr. D, which is, they continue that, which is nice.
Yeah, the weekly outings with Mr. D. In fact, that's where the kids are right now. So we're able to meet with you all. But the kids love this outing every week with Mr. D. it's really precious, and they look forward to it every week.
Wondering if you've thought about summer programs, or is it still too early for that? And if there is any opportunity for third graders moving up.
I know that they are putting together a robust summer program. I can't tell you, it's going to be coming out soon though.
Yes,
I know that
it's in the
Ms.
works.
Fuchsia is putting together a fantastic summer program, and I'm sure it's going to range from being like on campus to, you know, those that want to do something virtual. I think it's going to cover a smorgasbord.
It's coming soon. It's in the works.
Great. In a normal year, other than the Nature's Classroom, what other projects do kids have to that involve getting out to the community, connecting with community, working in the community?
Sure. Last year, I'll just give you a few examples. We usually do some service projects throughout the year. So last year we were able to do our canned food drive in the fall, and then the kids they were able to take the school vans and go to the food bank and the food pantry and get a little tour of it, and over at Devon's, and it really had a great impact on them. Other things that we would do, go to the library. We would go use the vans and go to the butterfly place. We've gone to the, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but the animal place in Bolton. I'm forgetting what it's called. Just kind of
Animal
based on
Adventures.
Animal Adventures. Thank you, Miss Wright. And, you know, whatever it kind of pops up, like in the curriculum that we're, you know, studying. Sorry. We use the community. I mean, it's really awesome to have the vans and to get the kids off campus.
That's great.
You know, I'm trying to think of other things. I'm sure that there's a few others that we did last year, but
Well, sometimes we have the community come to us as well. Last year we had someone from Bonsai West come and teach the students about what a bonsai tree is and the history of them and how to tend for them, and then they gave a bonsai tree to the class. So, you know, sometimes we go to the community and sometimes the community comes to us.
That's great. That sounds like more than what they do in Lower Owl. So.
And there's also the Giving Tree.
oh yeah, we do a few service projects throughout the year, and we organize the Giving Tree in conjunction with the Parents Association and the Department of Children and Families, and we yeah, I'm sure you're aware of the yeah. Giving Tree.
Yeah. They open it to the lower grades. That's why I've heard of it, right? With the lower grades are invited, so
Yeah.
to give. Thank you.
And a lot of the kids, you know, they come up with these great ideas. Hey, we want to raise money for, you know, turtles. I mean, I'm just throwing that as an example. Then we want to, you know, volunteer. Miss Wright's students have gotten the Blandings turtles and raised them, and we've, you know, the kids might decide that they're all in for that. So they might organize something, and then we do it, then we sell things at the coffee house. I mean, these kids, it's organic. They're coming up with these great ideas, and then we just run with it.
Great. Great. I do have another question if there's no one else. What do you do with kids who tend to, you know, do everything they have to do quickly, but then don't reach higher and you know what I'm getting at? People who seem to have academic potential, but are very good at procrastinating or.
Sure. One of the things that I love that we really try to implement is to give the kids some choice, so that they really have a buy-in. Like, oh, you can choose this book, Wonder, and then we read a little bit about it. And you can, you know, we're doing an anti-bias unit, so you can read Wonder, you can read Insignificant Events in the Life of the Cactus. Well, the kids decide, whoa, this is the book I want to read. And then they're sort of, you know, they're excited about it. It's not like, hey, kids, this is the book we're reading. Oh, I don't want to read that book. So they get really excited about it. And I think that often we try to introduce that choice with either the work that they're doing or the time of the day that they're working on it, because they're going to jump right into what they love. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't hold them accountable, because we do. In upper elementary, I know in lower elementary it's more, and it's still to a certain extent up here, follow the child. We love that, but we also hold them accountable, and we nurture them, and then we're going to, hey, we're all going to sit down together here. We're going to work on this, right now. And, we have to do that. In Upper L, we have to do that. And it works well. We have a nice balance of, oh, I'm excited. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do. And I love that we have the flexibility for the kids to do that. But we also have to do, other things too.
I think they're at developmentally, I mean, they're at an age where they're starting to become more self-aware, and we want to help increase their self-awareness around those kinds of things. What do you notice about your approach to getting your work plan done? Let's see, let's reflect on that. Let's kind of keep track of how much math are you doing during your follow-up time? How much, what are you putting last? Why are you putting it last? How is that working for you? How is it not working for you? I mean, these are, because they are getting older and more able to communicate and understand, where they're at internally as well as externally, really capitalizing on that fact and helping them develop those skills so that they do understand kind of who they are as learners. And I think that's a critical piece in upper elementary, is helping the kids to understand who they are themselves as individual learners. And then once they increase that awareness, what are they going to do to improve in this area, or capitalize on that strength, share it with the community? How can you help somebody else? So it's really it's an amazing time. It's an amazing time developmentally. And, I think even as adults, we all get into that procrastination moment, and being able to talk with them about that and what our journey has been. I mean, there's a lot of discussion that happens in upper elementary that you don't see as much of that happening in lower elementary, because they're not ready for that. I mean, we still talk with them, of course, but it's different.
I'm curious as to how the trajectory for self-direction manifests in upper L, especially in like a project-based approach, because I'm speaking from experience. Like, my children love to, like, they are more of project-based analysts, critical thinkers, and they want to problem solve through projects. So I just want to understand how in upper L that penchant is nurtured. Like, does it show up as when there is room for them to, like you said, follow their passion or pick up a project, or at every step of the way, do they have room to still make it to a project-based learning rather than just let's sit down and review these kind of knowledge or skill set that you need to acquire in this 3-year period? I just want to know, like, do they have the opportunity to still come up with projects to still achieve that knowledge?
I'm happy to speak to that.
Go ahead, Ethan.
So, a lot of what we use our lesson, like when Kat or Kirsten or really any of us are delivering a lesson, right, we're focused on the skills, the academic skills that we want the children to understand at the end of the lesson. But when they leave that lesson and they go back into their work cycle time, that's time for them to explore with the concepts, often collaborating when we can. And obviously, right, we've talked about this year is a bit harder to do that. But most of the assignments that we give in upper elementary, and somebody, jump in if I'm off, but the way I see it, most of them ask the students to take these skills that we try to teach in our lessons and apply them to big concepts, apply them to big questions that they need to try to, like you said, either problem solve or, if it's math, it can be things like riddles and things that they have to work through the various components that we will have talked about, but it's not as stringent as like we're just giving them a worksheet full of answers and they're telling us what the answers are and handing them back. It is very much exploration based, and we use our lessons to facilitate that. But it's not, it's not a lecture and then give us, the answers to these series of question type of environment. It's just different structure than that. So we do a lot of project based, and like I said before, some of it can be weeks long, some of it can be a couple of weeks long, some of it can be a month long, and so we do all of that at the same time. And so, maybe if Kirsten's doing a writing project that's related to something that Kat's talking about in botany, right? The kids are learning how all of these things are related. And we can do projects that intertwine with both. Kirsten and I have done that for history and writing this year. So there's a lot of things that we do to take those skills and allow students to use that passion and that desire to explore in order to get the most out of it that they can.
Great. And I can piggyback on that, just 2 examples recently, or 3 kids that were learning area perimeter, it's, hey, we go over, this is how you do that, but then hey, you want to design your perfect, house, let's go for it, and the kids love that sort of thing. So they love project-based learning. We love project-based learning. One of the kids today loved it, made the connection all by herself. Okay, we're doing all sorts of different things for Black History Month, and she's writing down, she goes, wow, Ms. Princey, I noticed that all the people born before 1900 were born into slavery, or almost all. And I'm like, bingo, right? This is amazing. You made that connection all by yourself. And I was hoping that they would. But, there's lit group projects. The kids read the book, then they're designing their project to go along with the book that's meaningful, and we give them lots of choices. We are doing this. They just did a winter vacation project, so in math, and they love this type of stuff, and it's a great way to show what they know. They learn. We, like Mr. D said, we teach them the concepts, but then they run with them. So it's really kind of fun.
Yeah, in 6th grade, we have what we call explorations, which is an hour and a half once a week. And the kids come up with creative goals for themselves, either individually or as a group. So, and it's amazing what they come up with, but they have what they kind of call electives. So like, for example, this morning, one of the girls who has learned how to do felting said, I would like to teach a class in felting. Would anyone like to learn during the February vacation? They have a band, a little band that they do. They're making earrings. So there's this creative period, like an extended period, where the kids get to decide what they want to do. 2 of the girls are working together on poetry. They said, we're really good poets. Can we, write poetry during this time? And they're creating a book. So, Queen, it's so important to have those opportunities for kids to, pursue their passions and have those sort of open periods where they can be guided to be productive and successful with their personal goals and share them with each other. So totally 100%. And I have to say one thing to you, Queen. I saw you on Chronicle. Congratulations with your little business, your big business.
Thank you. I put the Oak Meadow in there, but they added it, so we missed the Oak Meadow part.
I knew it was there. It was great. Wonderful.
Thank you.
It's not boring up here. I can tell you that much. It's not boring up here.
Any last questions? Okay.
I heard someone mention February break. Are you guys doing a special program or something during that time? Sorry, maybe I misheard that. Heard about the poetry.
So this student this morning, when she came in, offered to do this for her peers in 6th grade during the February break, just something she wants to do.
Informal.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Do you have, I know you have the Nature's Classroom, and I know that there's after school programs, and you talked about skills. Do you have like enrichment skill, like weeks or things like that, where kind of those life skills, or is that kind of taught throughout the year? Or do you have like special, I want to learn about this, or this, and people come in, whether it be CPR or a certain craft or a music, that kind of similar to your Nature's Classroom. I was just kind of curious. It was just something based on that comment. I was curious if you did anything like that.
All of the above. So, we might have experts coming in to talk about something. We might even have, just depending on the year, we might have parents that come in and talk about what they do for a living, because it's, hey, we're exposing the kids. We want to expose the kids to different careers. And we might, the kids are experts on a whole bunch of stuff. And oh my goodness, hey, Mrs. Princey, I really want to teach, the kids about coding, and then they run with it. And I really want to teach the kids about, I don't know, some kind of craft, like you said, felting, they just run with it, and they either whether we carve out some time in school for these things or we do them at home. As far as homework goes, really, there's a little bit of spelling, there's a little bit of math. We have these awesome book talks that the kids do. It's really a lot of fun, and they get so many great ideas from their friends. Wow, that book sounds great. I really want to read it. So the kids will read their book and then present it to all of their classmates. And, they kind of go through we have sort of a formal way of doing it, and then they read an excerpt from the book, and then I'm telling you, these kids get a whole stack of books that they're interested in reading then. So it's really contagious. They love to see what their friends are reading, and then they go off and read it, and then it kind of starts to build on it. And we might have, depending on the year and depending on if the kids need something a little bit different, maybe I feel like they need to work a little bit more on their reading comprehension, I might send home a few passages. Every year is different. Last year I had pretty much amazing spellers. This year I'm like, whoa, we need to really go over all of the spelling rules. It really depends on what the kids need, and then I'll adjust the homework based on that. We don't slam them with homework. It's really a reasonable amount of homework.
It's all weekly. It's not like, we give assignment out on a Monday and we're expecting it back Tuesday. Like last year, we, gave it out Thursdays. It came back Wednesdays. This year, we've done more of a traditional Monday, Friday, just because of how we've had to organize. But yeah, kids often like hearing that because they get worried that like every night they're going to have something new. And that's not what we do. We give kind of just one assignment. You have until, so-and-so to bring it back.
And we have a homework club too, which is really fun. A lot of the kids love to take advantage of the homework club and just get their homework done at homework club, with the help of the teachers. So it's just an option.
And you were asking about enrichment activities. There is quite a variety. It's a little bit different right now with COVID, or definitely a little bit of a smaller offering. But there's basketball. Ethan's currently doing a basketball club. Well, maybe not right now, considering that there's so much snow outside. But there's there's basketball. There's normally like cross country. There's like a band group, and So it's like a variety of different things, and that kind of goes back to Kat's saying, you know, sometimes parents will come in and lead like a arts and crafts we like offering, and so it really ranges, but there is always a variety of enrichment programs to choose from.
That's awesome. I'm excited for next year to hope. I'd love to be able to contribute any way I can to that. That'd be great. Do some fun science experiments at school if possible. So anyway, my last and final question, I don't want to dominate this, sorry, is kind of learning assessments. When they come into this and to kind of gear where they're at and where they need to go, how often are those and how standardized are they, I guess? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, so when the kids come in, you know, fourth and fifth year, I'm speaking with about specifically, we'll kind of give them an assessment, math, language, you know, at the beginning of the school year. And then pretty much with the size of the classes this year, okay, so I have like let's say I have 3 levels. I have a group of students that is taking 6th grade math because they are really ready for that. That are fifth grade students. So 5 5th grade students are taking 6th grade math.
Awesome.
The 4th and 5th year students, this year I have pretty much kept them as 4th year students and 5th year students. But last year, you know, those kids that are in 6th grade math, they were moved up into the 5th grade placement. You know, basically depending on where the kids are, we group them where they need to be, and that doesn't necessarily mean based on their age or in their age, you know, their grade.
Awesome.
You know, we just kind of see where they are. We get a lot of information from the lower elementary teachers. We assess them when they come in. We don't go by any sort of standardized test.
Awesome.
When the kids are in 6th grade, they begin the process of trying to take those tests and the ERBs, and Ms. Wright can talk a little bit more about that. But we're always talking to each other, you know, like we said earlier, hey, this is what I'm seeing, you know, are you seeing this? And,
Awesome.
you know, basically we try to get the kids, kids what they need, and they can move up. They don't have to stay someplace. If they're ready to move on, they are moving on. I mean, that is something that I feel very strongly about.
That is one of the many reasons we love Oak Meadow.
The assessments are ongoing, and I mean, the best assessment is observation, and we're constantly observing. We just recently in 6th grade had a student who was in 6th grade math, and I mean, here it is January, and she has taken to this math like a duck to water, but has shown herself ready really to be in pre-algebra. So in January, we've moved this student into a pre-algebra curriculum. So it's, you know, it's an ongoing process, you know, the assessment that we do. And the 6 years, you know, do take the ERBs, which is a great way for them to have a nurturing sort of environment in their first exposure to a standardized test. We're very laid back about it. It's as much about the process of them feeling comfortable with the standardized test as it is getting, you know, the results. And I mean, the purpose of the results really is to help us as teachers, you know, see where our kids are doing in regard to a bigger cohort. You know, that's important information for us to have, and, you know, make some tweaks of our own if we need to, or look at our own work critically. It's also good for parents to see, you know, kind of where their child is in regard to a larger, you know, independent school group. And we do typically, you know, as a school, do really, really well. But, you know, that said, kids all develop at their own pace. So they might struggle with the ERBs in 6th grade, and, you know, they're in 8th grade and they're doing great.
Is that the normal time, 6th grade and 8th grade, that those are run?
Actually, they're 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks to everybody for being with us, and stay healthy and warm.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys are the
you.
best.
Safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.